Boom.
Okay, so I'm calling this regular Park and Rec meeting to order at 7:04 p.m.
Julia, can you tell me, just because I have a Word document open, can you tell me who's present, please?
Sure. It's myself, Blythe, Abigail, John, and it looks like Lynn has joined.
Okay, so you, Blythe, Abigail, John, then myself, and then Lynn as a member of the public. Okie dokie.
Okay, great. So there's no need to elevate any alternates. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? Okay. Anyone opposed? Okay, great.
Wait a second. Can
yeah.
I ask it?
Yeah, sure.
I like to move. I would like to move item number 8 to number let's see, 5, and 5 back to 8. This way, it'll get the meeting will go faster that way.
So I think that John, we had so our thinking in putting number 8 where it was is that it's not a totally pressing item this evening.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we were going to, in case this ends up being one of our longer meetings, then we were going to possibly not get to that tonight, and we'd move it to our next meeting in 2 weeks. But I think the bylaws was something we wanted to make sure that we gave our sharpest attention to this evening.
Okay, it's just going to take longer you should have the bylaws at the end so you can have more time. So that's up to you guys.
Well, I think we will cap the amount of time we spend on it to 15 minutes. That's what the subcommittee had discussed. So we're going to cap the discussion to 15 minutes on the bylaws.
Yeah, we're not going to go through every little bit. We're going to talk a little bit more broadly and generally about the bylaws rather than trying to make every single decision. So it is going to be a shorter discussion than you might anticipate.
Is that okay, John?
But so you're not going to take any kind of motion for it or anything like that? You're just going to go over a couple of changes and that's it?
Well, so we're not proposing changing it yet. The intent was to inform the commission of the changes that we propose. So you're all aware of them. And if you, the commission, have comments that you'd like to share with us, we are welcome to hearing them. The next step would be, if the commission would like to move forward with this process, we would then review this with the town lawyer and get comments from the town lawyer and update according to that. And then do the official proposal, which you all would need to have this document a week ahead of the meeting to review. And then if the commission wants to move forward with the changes, we'd vote then.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. Do we have any public comment? No? Okay. Okay, so we are going to move along to the bylaws subcommittee presentation and recommendations.
Awesome, thank you. I'll project. So Blythe, the subcommittee, which is Blythe, Kate, and Michael and I have been incrementally working on this. We shared a small update in January. At that time, it was recommended to go line by line. So we have gone line by line, and all of the edits that we've made has been documented in the document I'm going to share with you right now. So the intent, when we formed the subcommittee, we did it before we had a director, And at that time, we recognized that we need to update the way that the commission operates to create a better environment for the director to work in. And so we came with a few objectives. One, that we want to position the commissioners to be collaborators and advisors to the director, but enable the director to direct as per their job title and experience. And the director should be given greater authority so they can move forward in the 21st and do a 21st century job. So we're really trying to find the balance where the commission works with the director and collaborates with the director, but that the director also has autonomy to move forward with planning parks and programs. And there's some things in language in this bylaws that if you read it and try to practice it line by line, it could be interpreted that the director actually doesn't have much autonomy and does need to come to the commission for basically approval on anything and everything. So we presented that concept to the commission in January. The commission said, go ahead and move forward with that concept in mind. So, we're not trying to erase these documents, but we're just trying to update them. And the other piece of information is there was a constitution and a bylaws. They're very repetitive, and it was recommended by the town lawyer to just do away with the constitution and just have a bylaws. So we looked at both documents side by side and filtered over language from the constitution where we thought was needed. Michael, you want to add anything to that?
I would just say that it's important that everyone understand that we are by no means finished with our work. With the document that has been shared and that you'll see here is color coded in a variety of ways, which I'm sure Abigail will effectively explain, which kind of reflects our thinking. And all the way along, we have been focusing on keeping the spirit of the commission and the directorship in mind, while also knowing that there are certain things that we're going to have to work in, things like Zoom meetings that don't exist in the bylaws or the Constitution. That certainly is language that will need to be added, but also keeping a list of kind of fundamental questions that we have that would guide our thinking on edits one way or another that we did not feel comfortable to make without bringing them to the full commission. So the point of really kind of this review today is to ask a couple of those questions so that we can continue our work, because we will know it's in the spirit of what the commission is looking for. That's what I would add.
Thank you. I'm just going to take a second because I want to pull up my notes so I can take notes while we are reviewing.
Got one question for you. What lawyer did you consult with this?
I will have to go back through my email.
This was somebody that Jean, right? This was the initial meeting of the subcommittee where we were in person, and Jean Speck was there and said that she had taken that question to the town attorney, who I believe was a gentleman. I can't remember what his name was right
I got it here. Randall DeBella. It's not advisable to have a comprehensive Constitution-style operations document for Park and Rec or any other town agency, except perhaps for a quasi-judicial regulatory agency like PZC. And even that is not definite. Our PNR ordinance conferred sufficient enabling authority to allow the commission to operate by ways of simple bylaws as electing officers, meeting protocols, parliamentary rules of order, seating of alternatives, and the like, which the commission could really readily adopt.
Can you send that to me?
It's a legal document. Sure, John.
Because normally, anything to do with the Constitution or the bylaws or anything that for the makeup of the town, everybody, we've always used Lori, Seashell. So I don't know what, why she went to Randy.
Well, it's her decision as the select person, I would think, but we are going to meet with another person, as per Lynn's recommendation when she was chair, to review all of this. Once we've shown it to you and asked you all questions, our next step is to review it with not Randall DeBella, but Lori.
Yeah, because she offered her services earlier in the debate.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why we wanted to go through this and have something to share with her and get her feedback on it. And we have specific questions for her as well.
I think she also said something about, if I remember right, I think she said something about bringing it to talk before bringing it to the commission. So I don't know why we skipped a spot,
Right.
but that's okay. That's all right. That's understandable. We can, I just
Bring
want to
it
make
to
sure.
what
we have it-
before we bring it to the commission?
Sorry,
I'm sorry, John, bring it to what before we bring it to the commission?
any changes on any bylaws of the Constitution, I think she suggested that you bring it to, you talk about it before you bring it to the commission. So,
Oh, well, we decided we thought it would be best to inform the commission of what it is we're proposing before going to the lawyer.
but
As
you
a-
already
as
did.
a group.
Right.
Okay, so we have introduced constitution language into the bylaws around membership. We do think it's a little strange that it should consist of 6 members. It just makes voting difficult. Perhaps this should be an odd number, but here it outlines term, the alternate language, that the commission should be. This is a lot of just editing language for clarity and to get rid of redundancies. In terms of the officer's duties, we do have a proposal in here for a secretary. We have seen that in other commissions and do think it would help with the running of meetings and particularly collecting meeting minutes. They would give those minutes to Jared for Jared to then file. So he'd have the last stamp on the meeting minutes. This is something we did mention, I believe, in January. Any discussion on that? Okay, we have some, language from the Constitution that's more specific about alternates that we included here in the bylaws. There's a bit here about subject to the provisions of section 9167A about minority representation of political parties. We didn't quite understand the rationale behind that, so we were going to ask the lawyer. Again, we added secretary, and that the secretary and the chair are elected by ballot. So the Constitution has more detail about the director. So we've added that language to the bylaws. The big thing here is that the commission acts in support of the director and is not a supervisor of the director. It outlines how many hours a week. We're not sure what KJSA board meetings are, so we do need to learn more about that. But it is pretty specific about the remaining hours are to be used in the manner in which the position demands. So that would be for the director to decide. This is also, we thought, kind of worth bringing to everybody's attention. The director is an ex officio member of the executive committee. do we actually have an executive committee? Because if we just have a chair, we don't. But if we have a secretary, we would.
Sorry, one thing that
And-
I thought it would be good to clarify about that, because that, to me, that would also mean that the director was an ex officio member of the commission, which I think was in some of the language later on.
Mhm.
And I was just thinking about these earlier when I was thinking about the number of commissioners, because originally I was like, oh, well, it's odd when you add in the third selectman. So maybe that's why we had 6 to add that in. But I don't know that we've had the director be a voting member before, when that is what that would mean technically. If they were an ex officio member of the commission, then it means that they have voting rights. So that is something that we should be getting clarified with the town lawyer when we speak to them, or with Darlene.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that we've noticed is there's things in this that we just haven't followed to
Yeah.
date, and that's a big one. So we do think it's important to revisit these documents and really understand what they mean and follow them and update them, where needed. But yeah, I'm glad. Thanks for pointing that out. So as an ex officio member, we are under the impression that the director would have voting rights the same way that the third selectman does. Here's a bit about keeping record of minutes. It's just, try to update this language because it's about putting it in a book. Or just, can it be on a server electronically? We don't know what an official communication is, and think that there could be some greater specificity about what that means. So there's a bit here just about correspondence and official communication. And we just updated this to reflect the language about Zoom. Here's a bit about operating funds. We decided to specify monetary donations, and this is something we want to check with the lawyer, because we would welcome gifts such as candy for the egg hunt, and we wouldn't want the language here to prohibit it. And again, we're just trying to be cognizant of those who would, read this and see that as something that we can't do and then try to not have us do it. So we want to be respectful of what it says here, but also try to be able to, receive donations if we can. Expenditures. So some of this is quite redundant. So we thought that here the Board of Selectmen shall act on the commission's recommendation of the hiring after school, Kent, Emery Park. We wondered if it was just enough to have the Board of Select member that sits on our commission be there to approve that, so we don't have to wait for BOS to have a meeting to approve our recommendations on hiring. And then a lot of this bit here is pretty specific about instructors of feed programs. We just thought it was a little too detailed for the bylaws. We think that this is good language to have on our website, welcoming people when they want to, pitch a program to us, but we didn't think this was needed in the bylaws. The petty cash fund, it wasn't clear to us whether we've ever done this, and if so, how much has been in the fund historically. Expenditures exceeding $1,000. This was a big update. Just for what it's worth, this was written this was updated in 99. So we're about, 23 years later. And we just think that the numbers here could reflect, a more, what we're dealing with today in terms of numbers. So we wanted to put this in here as a, under 1,000, the director can make purchases at their discretion, and that would be reported to the commission at their next meeting. And we did think maybe having a not to exceed per month, just so there's a cap on that. Above, between 1,000 and 3,000, the director procures 3 quotes and then can make purchases at their discretion with the quotes and keep those for records to defend the purchase that they made. Anything above 3,000, 3 quotes, the commission needs to give permission, the commission needs to give approval. And anything above 30, that's a formal sealed bid process. So this is definitely something we would like your input on, Jared.
Yeah, so what you have there is that's actually exactly what it was at my previous place. So I don't know if I had ever sent that to you before. But I think that's pretty fair. I mean, like you said, right, we're talking 23 years ago now or whatever. I think those numbers make a lot of sense. And as you said, it's not that I'm not, or whoever's the director is not getting quotes or whatever else above 1,000. It's just kind of, once again, going back to what we've discussed on and off, trusting the director to make that decision. Of course, once you get to 3,000, now we're talking significant money. And then, I've noticed some of the language around here, people use the word bids. In my opinion, mistakenly, because I consider a bid, a quote is, hey, give me a quote for a product. A bid is the sealed, legal process. And I think, yeah, once you get to 30, that makes sense. Because once you get to 30, we're talking equipment, we're talking, buildings, backstops, etc. Mostly capital purchases, to be honest. So that all makes sense to me. And just to go back to what you were saying about the petty cash, I didn't go through you guys, but I did ask Barbara for petty cash. So we have $150 on hand. So, thanks.
Yes, you actually did share these numbers with us. So I do think, perhaps the discussion is about this number with the formal sealed process. But, anything above 3,000, the commission's weighing in and approving. That's it. Those are kind of the big ones that we did. So again, we went through line by line. We looked at both documents together. We really tried to slide the pertinent information from the Constitution into the bylaws. Anything that we thought was redundant, we cut. We really edited for clarity, but there was a few philosophical changes about the relationship between the commission and the director, with the hope to really enable the director to direct. And we have a whether it's Jared or someone else, we have a person that is a professional, and we'd like to enable them to do their job. Thank you, and thanks to Blythe and Michael and Kate. We've been iteratively working on this for half a year, so we know there's still work to be done, but we wanted to share our process to date.
Thanks, Abigail.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you guys so much. You've put so much work into this, and it seems like you've been extremely thoughtful doing it. With kind of the major things, the position of the secretary, I think that's a great idea. Particularly, it would kind of, it would be a way to spread out some of the weight of each of the positions of the director and the chairman, and just add a more collaborative process, including other members of the commission on agendas and stuff like that. And then for the spending with the director, I mean, I don't know if we want to add in any language saying around the budget, like saying like director's discretion in keeping with the annual budget, just to put some sort of not check around it. I mean, we should have checks and balances, and that's why we have the numbers and the bids and the quotes. But that would just be a clarification. I mean, it should be a given, but might just be something that we want in writing.
Helpful comments. Thank you.
Abigail, did you have, feel like we had questions for the group on a separate sheet? I don't know if that was, I know we put a bunch of things in for parentheticals, but I feel like at one point we were working off of a separate document as well that kind of had the, here's what we want to make sure that everybody is good with so that we can nail down some other language. Do we have that on a separate sheet, or is that all kind of embedded
It's
in?
all, I tried to fold it in and have it be throughout our questions. We did have a question about what happens when a commissioner resigns that I don't know if it's clearly spelled out. We also didn't have a lot of clarity around the community house. It's considered a recreation.
I think the political affiliation.
And the political affiliation.
We weren't sure about that piece.
Yep.
Particularly with that one, I think it was just because, none of us on the subcommittee at least could remember being asked to reveal what our political inclinings are. And we were wondering whether there was supposed to be some sort of equal representation that was initially, at least when these bylaws were first created, or when the Constitution was first created. Was there an intent to make sure that there was an equal representation from kind of both sides of the aisle there? We've gotten away from that. Is that something that we feel comfortable just doing away with? I think there are some older things that we maybe have not been doing for a while that we did not want to just simply strike because we feel like it's not being done. But that was really important to us, is to make sure that we did not cut. What you see here is a full compilation of a merging of two documents with not one word cut out or anything. The stuff that we're proposing to cut out has been either highlighted and noted, or there's a sample strike through, those sorts of things. We want to make sure that everybody on the commission is good with what we're coming up with, and that it's a modern document for a modern commission.
So, with that, we would propose to strike this subject to the provisions of section 9167A. Jared, you have your hand up.
Yeah, two things.
Thank you for raising your hand.
I had mentioned this to Darlene regarding, we're talking about the political parties thing.
Yeah.
I don't think we really have an option on that, but I would speak with her, because when Julia became a full member, Darlene told me she had to check her political affiliation.
So Darlene had been checking affiliations. We just hadn't been.
Yeah, that's my impression of it. But I got the distinct impression that we really don't have a say in that.
Okay.
I would double check with her, but that was the impression I got. And then the other thing was, Blythe, you had questions about the community house. I know a decent amount about it at this point, so if you have any questions, just ask.
Yeah, I think it was Abigail who mentioned the community house. I think obviously now, if Darlene's been checking our affiliations, it's probably worth putting something, I think that we want this to be a very transparent document. We're trying to go for transparency here. And if volunteers are not asked or not told, that seems weird to me, because what happens if there is someone who, our process has been that we get a letter from someone who's interested in volunteering, and we talk about them, and then we accept them. And then is it after the fact that they could be checked on and there are suddenly too many Republicans or too many Democrats? What is that policy? We're going to need to nail that down. And in terms of the community house, Abigail, maybe you can ask Jared what you were thinking about with that.
Oh, I'm just stopping share because I don't have all of this stuff as public. It's not managed or budgeted by Park and Rec, but it's considered a recreational facility.
Yeah.
And
so I asked Barbara about
we
that.
need, Okay, because it was something that came up in a conversation that we, one of our,
Oh, yeah, it was
Subcommittee
probably with me.
sessions.
So Barbara did say exactly what you said, which is it's considered a park and recreation facility because it is a recreation facility. However, we don't manage it. We don't budget for it. It has basically nothing to do with us other than the fact that, like any other organization, we can use it.
Yeah, and we don't get priority. I think that was the thing. We were wondering if we could get priority for our programming there. And it
I
sounded
mean,
like
I'm not gonna, I
maybe we
won't say
couldn't.
it's not that we don't get priority or do. I mean, in speaking with Joyce, because she does all the scheduling for it. Let's say we had a whole slate of activities for the year. I could come in and put that all on the schedule and then they're ours. I know they do want to try, weekends, they try to keep them free because I guess the town makes a pretty penny off it.
Mhm.
But I feel like it's a pretty smooth process. In speaking with Joyce about, hopefully using it in the future, I felt like we would have, a lot of opportunity to do so.
Okay. So I just want to be cognizant of time because we've been talking about this for a little more than 15 minutes. And so I'd like to get a motion to review the next step of reviewing this with the town lawyer.
I'll make a motion to.
Can you read that motion again, just so I can write it down?
Julia's going to make it. It sounds like Julia's making a motion.
I didn't know, so I thought that maybe I should make the motion since Abigail's the one that did the presentation. Just for cleaning it up. So I will make a motion that the bylaws subcommittee reviews the document that they shared with us this evening with the town lawyer. As well as with the, I guess I should say with both lawyers that we have contact information for.
So motion to allow Constitution and Bylaws Subcommittee to review
Proposed,
proposed
proposed
changes
and updates.
and updates with town attorneys.
Yeah.
Okay, so Julia made that.
Do we have a second?
I will second it, although I don't know if I should because I'm on the subcommittee. Is there a rule about that? Don't know.
Not that I'm aware of.
And I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then any opposed?
Yeah, John. Can you, did you talk to everybody and ask them how they voted, please?
Sure. So I have, I made the motion, Blythe seconded it. Michael was in favor. Abigail, I believe that you can vote.
Yes, I can vote and I'm in favor.
She's in favor. And John, you are opposed.
Correct.
Nowhere in the bylaws does it stipulate when a commissioner cannot vote on something.
Thank you for checking.
Spent a lot of time with them.
Yeah, no, of course, you know them intimately. Okay, so any discussion? No?
I will also note that a commissioner can choose to abstain from a vote,
Yes.
but that there's no rule that they cannot vote on something.
Okay. Okay, so the motion passes. Thank you guys so much for your work.
So just to get this correct, motion to allow Constitution and Bylaws Subcommittee to review proposed changes and updates with town attorneys made by Julian F., seconded by Blythe Everett, Michael Perkins in favor, Abigail Smith in favor, Hanby in favor, John Grant opposed, motion carried.
That sounds correct to me.
All right, excellent.
And the next step again will be for our group to come back to you and talk to you about what we've learned. I mean, this is the process here is that we felt that we were not at an impasse, but at a position where we needed to ask some fundamental questions to make sure that we weren't flitting down some path over here that was untenable or was inappropriate. So we'll certainly come back and let you guys know what we learned.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that it's great that we're clarifying all these things that were in the bylaws that we weren't necessarily aware of before. That's important. Okay, so moving on in the agenda, the discussion of the Memorial Day Parade. Jared, do you want to get everybody up to speed on that?
Sure. Sorry, I'm just trying to do the minutes as we go. Okay, so yeah, Jean, first selectwoman, approached me a few weeks back and said that the veterans or the Legion, American Legion, that they did not plan on continuing to run the Memorial Day Parade. They still want to be involved very heavily, but not do the coordination, administration of it. And she asked if it was something Parks and Rec would be interested in. I told her I'd never done a parade before because I haven't. I really didn't. I don't know much about them. But it's something I think would definitely fall under our jurisdiction. But what I did, I coordinated with the guy who ran it this year, and I went and I helped him out with the parade. You know, the administrative side of things, coordinating with people, actually helping to run the event. And you know, I figured I'd just kind of get my feet wet and see if I thought it was something that would be good for us. And I definitely do. I think it was a great event. I think we as a department and commission could make it even better. Not that it was bad, but I feel like we could bring fresh ideas to the table and really help to enhance it. And you know, so you know, Jean asked if it's something we would want to kind of take on. And so I wanted to bring it to you guys. It has my support 100%. And like I said, I think we can take what's been done by the veterans, keep the really good stuff and add our own things to it, and have that nice, you know, late spring event for the town.
You really have to get that flyover, you have to do it almost a year in advance.
Yeah, that I would definitely be counting on the veterans on, because I don't have those types of connections to get.
Well,
whatever
actually,
that plane was that
Andy,
flew over.
yeah, Andy Osip is the one to go to, but unfortunately, Andy is getting up there. It's going to be tough. I mean, you really have to stay in touch with those people. So.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like we would still coordinate heavily with the veterans. The Legion, I don't know if there's a VFW around here, but definitely the Legion.
Well, there's a VFW in Milford and Danbury, so.
Okay.
And they fly over the same path, so. It's two planes that fly off this over the western parts of Connecticut.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I heard they like make the rounds, you know, they do all the different parades.
Yeah,
and
Two rounds. Yeah, they make two rounds.
Yeah. But yeah, I understanding the inner workings a little more. I think it's something we could definitely take on for sure.
My first thought, just having felt like we're kind of chest deep in the bylaws, is the bylaws are particularly specific when it comes to areas and locations and sites that we are kind of in charge of. I realize this is an important event for the town. I don't know if anybody feels any concern about, you know, we've talked about everything from liability for things that happen in the parks. I mean, is there any concern about running an event that goes throughout the town? What happens there? Who is ultimately responsible for that, being the organizer? I don't know. I didn't say that very well, but it seems to pretty significantly broaden the scope of what the bylaws say that we're responsible for, and I know that we've been concerned about liability. Not that I'm not interested in it. I love the parade. It's awesome. And, you know, I would certainly love for us to consider it, but that was the first thing that I thought of just because I'm still in kind of bylaws mode.
I'm grateful you're wearing the bylaws cap, Blythe.
I hate this
I try to
hat.
wear it. It's a lot. It's a heavy hat. I hear what Blythe is saying, and I wonder if it would be beneficial to maybe partner with somebody rather than wholly take it on. I also it gives me a little pause because it does seem like it is one of my favorite events in town. I would hate to see it go. I would do whatever I can to have it stay. So I'm not saying anything along those lines. I always say if my grandfather was still alive, this would be his favorite thing ever, as a vet. But yeah, I just wonder if it's a big ask for Park and Rec to take it on fully, and perhaps we could partner with other groups in town.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the best group for that would be the Lions Club, or even combine it with the Boy Scouts. The Lions Club and the Boy Scouts would be probably your best bet. They do the antique show twice a year, I believe. And they get lots of people there. So they're well equipped than we are.
So Jared, do you feel like you could maybe talk to the Lions Club and the Boy Scouts and see if we could maybe share the
Yeah, I
logo?
mean, these organizations are already involved in the event. They're already, so the Legion just coordinated with Lions, coordinated with the Cub Scouts, coordinated with the fire department. But some organization has to be the one to kind of run point. And I think that's what Gene was looking for. And like I said, I don't have a problem with that at all. But if you guys don't want to take that on, you know, I mean, that's whatever, you know, that's up to you guys. But I would have no problem running point on that. I honestly do think it's within our scope. I'm not too concerned about the liability thing, because, you know, there's inherent liability with certain events and whatnot. And I think that's where this would fall. And, you know, with respect to it being too much to bite off, I mean, being in the activity and seeing how each department and group involved handled their own little fiefdom, I don't think it would be too much, because the fire department, you know, they knew what they were doing. The music, the KCS music or whatever, marching band, they knew what they were doing. And it really was just one person to run point and kind of coordinate. You know, not that I don't think it's hard work, of course it is, but I think the groups that are involved are very much capable of handling their aspect of the event, which makes it so much easier.
I would certainly recommend a very specific list of responsibilities and duties for each of those groups. I think that'll help you as well as everybody else. If we're pulling, you know, when you pull a long time entity out, being very, very specific about who's responsible for what is going to be important going forward, I think.
Yeah, totally agreed. Yeah, so
Yeah.
whatever you guys want to do.
I'm in agreement with Abigail that it's one of my favorite events that we have in town. It's so wonderful and so moving. And if they're looking for somebody to help out and take it off their hands after having produced this for so many years, then it does seem to me like something that Parks and Rec could do, especially if we are working in collaboration with these other groups that are already in it. I mean, I know the Lions Club is such a huge presence there the day of, handing out flags, and I think that they provide the ice cream afterwards too, or they have. So I think I'm in favor of it. I would just want to have, like Blythe said, a clear, if we're going to be running point on this, just a clear list of duties, and then also touch base with the American Legion many, many times as we do the handoff.
Yeah, I mean, that would be honestly, like, that's par for the course with any event, so.
Yeah.
That's like standard operating procedure, so, you know, I don't think it's anything we're incapable of doing. And that we wouldn't do if we were running any other event throughout the year. Um, you know,
So can I go ahead and make a motion for the Park and Rec Department to be the coordinator of the 2023 Memorial Day Parade in partnership with the Kent Fire Department, KCS, the Lions Club, Boy Scouts. I don't know if and the Veterans Legion.
I personally don't feel ready to vote on it. I'd like to see the breakdown of who's responsible for what. There may be other things that we're not thinking about, the other groups who are already involved might want to step up and do. I mean, it was just a couple weeks ago. Do we need to necessarily take this on before we find out a little bit more? Maybe I personally don't know if this is our bailiwick and what it is, besides just the coordination piece, which I know, Jared, you could do practically with your eyes closed. But I would like to know what we specifically would be responsible for. So if there's a vote, I would abstain tonight, but I would encourage us to think about whether or not we want to do a vote tonight.
We could table the motion. But Julia, I will leave that up to you.
Yeah, Jared, do you think you'd be able to come back to us at the next meeting with kind of a clear?
nah, not the next meeting, for
Yeah.
sure, not with camp stuff going on. I'm gonna be perfectly blunt. That's not on my radar for the next 2 weeks. So,
Did Jean give you an idea of when we needed to give her an answer back?
no, she just it was really just preliminary discussions. So,
Okay.
as I speak with her more about it, I'll come back to you.
Okay.
But I
So
can tell you it won't be next meeting. So,
yeah, no, that's okay. We have a lot going on.
yeah.
Then why don't we table the motion, and like if we're not needing to give her an answer in the next 2 weeks,
Fine
let's
with me.
table it and we'll find out more information.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So do I write the motion in the minutes and put it as tabled, or just not write it?
I think he has to put it in and write that it's tabled.
Can someone read say the motion again?
For the Park and Rec to coordinate the 2023 Memorial Day picnic parade in partnership with the Veterans Legion, Lions Club, Boy Scouts, Kent Fire Department, and Kent Center School in the town.
Done.
Great. Okay. On to Camp Kent. Jared and Chris have been working nonstop on getting Camp Kent in place and putting together a great program. Jared, do you want to?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still filling something in, made by Abigail. Got it. Perfect. Yeah, so just wanted to fill you guys in real quick on where we stood on everything. We met with Julia, I think the middle of early last week, and kind of went over everything that how we pared everything down. And I'm just sitting at Michael's screen. Interesting. You're sideways. So yeah, basically 6 weeks, June 27th, starting June 27th, ending August 5th, first week in August. We split it into 3-week sessions to sign up, which I already told you guys, $450 per session, or if you're signing up for both, 800 total, grades 1 through 6. And we have a trip each week except the first week. We're going to run that all at Club Getaway to kind of get our feet wet. Then the last 5 weeks we have a trip each day, which if you guys want to check out the schedule, it's on the website so you can see where we're headed. Chris has been doing awesome. He's been working really, really hard, and we're taking registrations. We started registration last night. I really don't have a whole lot more to report, to be honest. It's Club Getaway is awesome, and I got to give them crazy props because we met with them for the second time and they just are going so above and beyond to make us feel welcome and have a home and fit in. And, they have a tent reserved for us where we could run our camp every day. They got, they're going to give us a schedule of where we're supposed to be at any given point during the day, whether it's lake time, zip line, ropes course, baseball field, whatever it is. They are going to have it all worked out for us. And then, basically Chris is just going to backfill in the schedule based on, wherever we have gaps and downtime, with crafts or sports activities, etc. So we're halfway there. We're just waiting on Club Getaway to give us that schedule, and then we'll fill it in. We're going to do Walmart, Home Depot run, get all the supplies we need, and rock and roll. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have specifically, but very pleased with the work Chris has done. Very pleased with how Club Getaway is really, really working to make us feel like we have a home. And I think it's going to be awesome.
Sounds great.
Do we have a cap on registration number?
Yeah, we can't go above 25.
25.
Yeah,
And
previously it was 24. We just made it 25.
Who's eligible for the camp?
Kent residents only, at least in the preliminarily. If we get to the point where we're not filling spots, I think we can obviously make the decision to expand on certain things, whether it be ages, residency requirements. But I think for now we need to advertise it as Kent residents only, because I do think we can fill all the spots.
And it's rising 1st through 6th graders.
I'm sorry, what was that, Julia?
It's rising 1st through 6th graders.
Oh yeah, entering 1st through 6th grade. Sorry, yeah.
I just add one of the other things that I thought was awesome from Club Getaway. The nervous Nelly in me had been like, oh, zip line, ropes course, but at each of those things, when we go to them, they're going to have their own staff there, like the people who always manage and oversee those individual stations.
Yeah.
So not only will we have our own counselors, we're going to have a trained professional at each station doing them.
Yeah,
and
we get also, so we'll have our own staff, plus Club Getaway is giving us a liaison that stays with us. So we have a Club Getaway kind of rep the whole time. And then, as Julia said, each activity has its own staff member too. So it's foolproof, basically. And we're paying $100 a week to be there, which is like, I mean, that's a steal and a half. That doesn't even cover that one person's salary, I'm sure. So, they're doing Club Getaway, David, they're just fantastic. And I think we have, but when this goes well, I think next year we can really expand upon this and do something special. So.
That's great. Do you, unless anybody has any questions or comments, do you want to move on to the hiring of camp counselors?
Yes. So, right now, I wanted to ask you guys how you want to go about this. So 2 people who work ASP also want to do camp. Actually 3, I should say. Tom, who's the ASP director, and then Skylar Finch and Lizzie Besmer. They all want to do camp, and they all have my support, and they're already on our staff technically as hourly employees. So I see it being no problem to basically keep them on instead of laying them off. but I didn't know how you guys wanted to go about doing that.
So they have your support. I guess like I just would, since you've been working with 2 of the 3 for 5 months, if there was any review you wanted to have or create space for any review before
I
they
don't-
became counselors.
I don't feel the need to do that, especially for a lower level position like this. Skylar and Lizzie would both be part-time, so they would alternate. Tom would be full-time, and I feel very confident. And once again, for only being the counselors, I'm not too concerned. If it had been the camp director or something, like if we were shifting Tom to be from ASP director to camp director, then I would say, oh, we should really we should do a performance review, but not in this case.
And Chris has worked with Tom in the past before too, and has a very high opinion of him. They've worked
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, actually, Chris was the one who originally approached me and said, is Tom going to be working camp? And I said, no. And he actually said, would you consider keeping him on? I'd really like to work with him because he's, they know each other from Kent, New York. So yeah, I think he'd be a great fit. And bonus, Tom knows a lot of these kids from ASP now. So, and just being in the school every day, all the kids get to see him, get to know him. So that's a big bonus.
So I think that if we're to hire them, since when we hired them before, I believe that the motions were based on their hours for ASP and for the school year. So I think we would need to do a new motion and specify the dates and hours and pay.
Okay, so why don't we just table that for now, and I will get that all written up, how much we'd be paying, etc. And then I'll come back to you guys.
Okay, great. Thank you. That we're psyched. It's awesome. You guys have done a great job.
Yeah, I got to give Chris Eller a lot of props. He's been working hard. He's on the phone all day, every day with the different, places he wants to go on the trips to. And, like the very first day he was talking to David from Club Getaway, like he had like a lunch with Pauline from Club Getaway, who's the scheduler. Like he's really, really grabbing the bull by the horns. And I think he's putting together something awesome. So.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
So the final thing on our agenda, public comment. At our last meeting, I had brought this up just after having been to more of the town meetings, like the budget meetings and Board of Selectmen meetings, and speaking with some of the people in town hall, given that we're becoming more active and might be doing the parade, and I know that we have some big parks ideas on our horizon, then I thought that it might be good to formalize a policy around public comment. I think that public comment is something that we definitely want to encourage, especially as we come up with long-term plans for our parks, Emery Park in particular. But we want to make sure that it comes at the beginning of the meeting like we've been doing, so that people have a chance to speak before we're voting on anything or making any motions. But I also think in the interest of time, we want to, or my idea, I should say, I would like to propose that we have a policy around one, making sure that it's the beginning of the meeting, and then 2, setting a time limit so that we don't have to cut anybody off, like so that people know what to expect when they come into a meeting. And if they expect to go over X number of minutes, we ask that they then also submit their comments in writing so that we can have that for all of us to read either before or after the meeting. But just have it set so that everyone is given an equal and fair amount of time to speak. And we're also conscious of how long our meetings are.
I think that makes sorry, Abigail.
I was gonna say that makes a lot of sense, and I just would wonder if we could add into the policy chat. And how that's used and when that's used? Because if there's a time for public comment, is it limited to that time?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. Well, not the chat thing, but no, I think that makes a ton of sense. And I think, and Abigail's really been pushing for this. We're trying to streamline these meetings a little more and get them to under, I think we'd all love for them to be under an hour. So having policies in place to promote a healthy duration is only good. So.
And I would imagine that if we have something big coming down the pike, we can always move to extend a public policy, public comment discussion a little bit longer before a big vote, or, at some point, we certainly could move to expand that at times that would benefit both us and the community.
Yeah, I was thinking of the meeting that we had discussing a possible pool. I can't remember if it was a special meeting or a regular meeting, but it was a meeting where we had a ton of people dial in. And if we know that we have something like that coming up, then we can kind of give people a heads up, like, we would love to have you come join. If you think that you're going to want to speak longer, then definitely give us correspondence ahead of time to make sure everybody's heard and that there's transparency in what the process is.
Great idea.
So I am prepared to make a motion unless anybody else has anything else that they'd like to say on that.
Did you have any idea of like what the time limit would be?
Sorry, yeah, the timeline. So I was thinking, originally I had thought 2 minutes. That's what I had seen at the Board of Finance meeting. Maybe 3 to just make sure people have extra time and we're not cutting them off too quickly, because at the Board of Finance meeting, I know that they did run into that issue a little bit, but 3 seemed fair to me.
I think 3 is fair. I think you should be able to get your thoughts out in 3 minutes, even if you're wordy like me. 3 minutes should be good.
I think 3 minutes is more than enough time. I'd lean towards 2.
Well, in that case, let's just make it 1 and call it a day.
Well, that would, in my world,
That might
I
not
got time limits of how long I'm allowed to talk. So
I think it's friendly to start with 3 and then we can always pare it down if it becomes a problem.
I agree. We'll see how it goes and if it becomes an issue. So I would like to make a motion that the Park and Rec Commission create a policy around public comment, welcoming public comment at the beginning of our meetings, right after the approval of the agenda. And that we limit public comment to 3 minutes per person, and let the commentator know that if they would like to go over, we ask that they submit something written for public correspondence.
All right, we're gonna have to slow that down. That was a big motion there, Julia. Okay, so motion to limit public comment during Park and Recreation Commission meetings to 3 minutes. And what was that part after it?
And if the commentator would like to speak longer, we'd ask them to submit something in writing as public correspondence.
I think you probably also want to make sure that you say 3 minutes per person.
Yeah, 3 minutes per person.
Minutes per person, thank you. And ask that if commentator would like to speak longer,
this is helpful,
submit
Jerry.
something in writing to the Park and Recreation Director for public comment. As correspondence. Okay, motion made by Julia.
Yeah.
All right.
Do we have a second?
Second that.
Okay, we'll go with Blythe as the second, Jared.
Got it. She was louder. She wins.
All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
So we have Kate and Abigail as ayes. Any opposed?
Yes, me.
Okay, any discussion? Sorry, I maybe should have put discussion before that.
So
John,
are they going to submit is the letter, if it's going to be too long, do they submit the letter beforehand, correct?
yes, we would like to, I mean, ideally, this will be something that becomes socialized with people prior to meetings. So
Right.
that they can do it beforehand, but if not, it can be something that's read at the next meeting or
Will
sent
it
to.
be read? Because if it's submitted, it would be in the document and it could just, people could, I think, at the discretion of the chair, whether or not it's read, but it would be as part of the documents that are a part of the meeting.
I might
Is-
need to check with Darlene on that because I think it would count as public correspondence, which we
Yeah.
have read in the past. So I believe that I would need to check with her on that, on whether or not it's read, but I would assume that it would be read at the next meeting.
Yeah, I actually was wondering about that too, because I was under the impression that we had to read all public correspondence, but I was at a Board of Selectmen meeting and that was not the case. Because in theory, you could get 30 letters about,
Okay.
I don't know, concrete sidewalks. I'm just making that up. That would never happen. Then what are you going to read them all? So
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary actually that we read them.
It doesn't say anything in the bylaws or the Constitution about reading letters.
Okay, then we can do so at the discretion.
But when we do read them, can someone read them like Casey Kasem when he used to read the letters on American Top 20? Do you guys remember that? Someone here has to remember that.
From Michelle S.
Yeah, she writes,
She writes.
"Dear Park and Recreation Commission, it's been a
Um,
long
so-
time since we last spoke."
Feel like this is a motion that we should vote on, or do we want the specifics from the town, just so we're kind of clear on all of this stuff, the reading of letters, it would be good if whatever we put out there was specific to, I think it's tough to say at the discretion of the chair.
Yeah,
Because-
I agree.
That would be very tough.
I agree.
Just like with all the work we've done looking at the bylaws, if it's not in there, then it's not in there. So do we have to get permission?
I think if it's not in there, just thinking on it further, and you guys let me know if you still feel like we can amend the motion, and let me know if you'd still feel comfortable voting on it tonight. But we could say that we ask you to submit it in writing to be attached as a public document with the meeting minutes. Okay, so I would like to amend the motion to say if you go over the 3 minutes, then please submit the rest of your comment in writing to be attached as a public document with our meeting minutes.
Okay, so motion to limit public comment during Park and Recreation Commission meetings to 3 minutes per person. And ask that if commentator, say that again, Julia.
If you go over 3 minutes, please submit your comment in writing to be attached as a public document to our meeting minutes.
But we don't want to say if you go over, because then it's like,
Yeah, no.
oh.
Sorry, yeah.
So
I said, I
think-
put any commentator who feels that he or she has more to say,
Needs
like
more
what, I don't know how to
time.
do this
Needs
stuff,
more time.
needs more time.
Please submit that in writing to be attached to our meeting minutes as a public document.
But would it be, not to complicate the matters, wouldn't it be correspondence that would then be included on the, as backup for the subsequent meeting. I don't think it would actually go with the minutes for the meeting. If I'm still very green with the minute stuff, as you guys know, but my understanding is that would be correspondence for the subsequent meeting, which I think is fine.
I think you should leave it up to Darlene before you do it.
She's my
Yeah,
go-to.
I would recommend just, you know, running this idea past her, just to make sure that, I mean, because I agree, I don't think we want to set up any kind of weird catch-22s for ourselves and.
Yeah.
you know, is
No,
it,
that's
you have to submit it before, or wait, you submit it after, and then is it read again? I don't know.
So why
Yeah.
don't we do this then? Why don't we just table the motion? I have it written down here and I'll just, right now, I'll shoot an email over to Darlene and say, in this case, give us your guidance. And then whatever she says, we'll just finalize it at the next meeting.
Knowing that now we have with the agenda a link to the folder that includes all the documents for the next meeting. So one would assume that additional language that someone will want to add after they've commented would be included in that folder as correspondence.
That makes sense.
I agree. Okay, so we're tabling that then.
Yeah, and I'll follow up with Darlene.
Okay, so we'll have it buttoned up for the next one. All right, well, we came very close to an hour, everybody. It's 8:15 and we started a couple of minutes late. So I will adjourn this meeting at 8:15 p.m.
Oh, we're done.
Thank you,
Nice.
Julia.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you, everyone. Toodles.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Good night.
Gute Nacht.